Okay, so we're actually going to start in a seat or kneeling pose tonight. We're going to do just a little bit of gentle breathing practice. So you could use a bolster or a block to get comfy on. And if you really don't want to sit for whatever reason, just be comfortable. We'll start with just a regular 2-nostril breathing, and then we'll move on to alternate nostril breathing. Sit how you want to sit. Set your gaze or drop your eyes closed. Notice the soft expansion wherever you're feeling it, allowing for the belly to move as much as it likes. Side body expanding, and even trying to see if you can breathe into that backside a little bit more. Less in the chest, less in the shoulders, neck muscles at ease. And the mudra, the hand mudra we're going to use for the nostril breathing will be right thumb on the right nostril, and then the ring and the pinky will close the left nostril. The index and the middle finger will be at the third eye. And if that doesn't work for you, you can do it another way. So we're going to take an inhale through both nostrils. Exhale, close your right, and exhale out the left. Inhale left. Close your left and exhale through your right. Nice and slow. Pause. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale to the right. Inhale right. Exhale out your left. Inhale left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Now if you're going faster or slower than me, keep going. Try to find some moments of pause if you can. Next breath, let's take a full inhale through both nostrils. Trickle out the exhale slow. Pause if you can. Another breath like that. Slow to inhale, fill all the way up. Lengthy and complete exhale. And another pause. And then just breathe how you want to breathe. Before we get down on the floor, we're going to try our pelvic sit walk. We've done this a couple times in other classes. It's a little bit weird, but it's a nice way to mobilize the pelvis. And even a little bit in the low back. There's some stretching going on there as well. So let's scoot ourselves towards the back edge of our mat in a seated position with the legs out in front of us. We're just going to do essentially one lap. Lift one side, so your sitting bones off the floor, and glide that leg forward ahead of the other one. Set it down, and vice versa. It's just like it sounds. You're walking on your pelvis. There's a little twist element going on. There's just a little interplay between the hip joint, the pelvis, and the low back. The arms can just kind of help how they want to help. Pushing one leg, pushing the other leg. And now we're going to go back the way we came, just like that. This time we're pulling the leg back. It doesn't really matter how fast you're moving. Maybe it's a little slower than me, maybe it's a little faster. I'm going to walk right out of my socks, it looks like. And then once you get back to your mat, or to the back side of your mat, you can resituate so that you're eventually in the middle, and you're going to need your ball next. So I don't know how many of you saw the image that I had in the Rest and Restore class last week with the bones of the pelvis. But we're going to use the ball to kind of trace around the top edge of that ilium. We're not actually going to be on the bone, we're just going to be just underneath it where the glute muscles live. So for just a moment here as you lay on your back, you're going to think about the shape of your sacrum and then those iliac crests. So to me it looks a little bit like the shape of a butterfly. That middle part, the body, is your sacrum. It's shaped a little bit like that. And then each side, of course, has that nice big arc out and up. So you're going to take your ball and you're going to bring it close to the lower part and the outside right part of your sacrum. So if you go from your tailbone and you move inward to your glutes, maybe an inch or so, you should land just outside that sacral area. And then you're going to keep both knees bent to start and just set your ball right underneath that spot. And we're not rolling here. We're just going to pin it and hold it and breathe. Now, if you were to keep both legs bent and your feet on the floor, that's going to be just a little less intense for you. You could see how it feels to flex your right hip, which means you would be drawing your right leg in towards your body. That's actually going to intensify things a little bit, probably, because now those muscles are being lengthened. If you want less, you could straighten your leg out on the ground and see how that feels. So we got the ball under the right bum, close to the sacrum, towards the bottom. And we're just going to take some breaths. And since we have several spots to work with, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on each one. We're going to go for a little more quantity rather than long holds here. So rebend your knees if they were straight, press into your feet, lift your hips, and move the ball a little bit higher, and maybe just slightly inward. You still want to be fairly close to that middle sacral area, but you don't want to be on the bone. And you're going up about an inch or so with that ball. And you can just, once again, put as much weight as you want to on that. Bending your knee, pulling it into you might make it more intense if that's what you're after. I don't know that there's any real benefit to that, but sometimes it just feels good to feel more. You're welcome to breathe in any way that feels just right for now. Of course, we do recommend breathing out of the nose, but you can even go back to some sort of a pattern. Counting your breath could be equal ratio, or we could try to lengthen the exhales. That's my preference. Make them a bit longer than the inhale. And if you like the pauses, maybe push all the air out and then find a moment of stillness before you inhale again. Let's move it up again. So you're thinking about that ridge. You're moving it up towards your belt line, but you're still in the soft tissue. And so now you're approaching about what feels like the high middle buttock. Once again, if you pull that knee in, that might change things for you. You could even tip your whole pelvis a little bit towards that right side to leverage more weight into the ball. Tipping away from the ball would also de-escalate things for you. Put your hand back down underneath you so you can move the ball, lift up just enough to slide the ball, again, a little bit upward and a little bit out towards the right. So now you're approaching the outer border, but you're still on your back side. Now, as we get into this outer border, to feel it, you might need to tip your pelvis towards the right to get a little bit more weight on the ball. So I've started to kind of lift my left side and tip it towards my right side. And the last time I did this, I actually wedged my yoga block underneath my left bum so that I didn't have to work so hard to hold that tip. So if you get your block handy, you could try that, or even the other big ball if you have a squish ball. Now, as we approach the outside edge, we're heading towards almost the side butt. I would say about 2 inches or so above your greater trochanter, which is that big knob on the outside of your thigh. You're going about 2 inches above that and a little bit towards your backside. And this one you are probably going to have to roll a little bit to the right bun to feel that glute medius minimus area. And if you want to feel this one more intense, you're going to turn your right thigh bone inward. A little bit of inward rotation. Okay. Let's just move the ball slightly out of the way so that we can lay flat on our pelvis. And just notice what you feel. Bent legs or straight legs, or you could even move them a little bit like our wipers that we do. Now let's approach the other side. Starting low, just off to the left of that middle sacral bone, in the soft tissue. Here we're probably getting pretty close to being either or on the glute max, part of the glute max, or the piriformis. And so we're not rubbing or scrubbing. We're just thinking of that pin and hold technique. Lifting that leg could bring a new awareness. Let's lift and shift slightly higher and maybe just a smidge outward. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for a bullseye here. We're just looking for the general target. Remember, if you tip to the left, that could intensify things. Tipping to the right will offload just a little bit. Let's move it again. Just nudge it an inch or so upward again. Kind of following that line of the border of the sacrum, coming up higher so that we're near the crest of that top pelvis bone, but we're not on it. So just underneath it. Let's go a little bit further outward towards the outside of the left hip, still pretty high, just below that top rim. And then you're going to start to probably want to lean a little bit into the ball. So tip the right side of your pelvis up You could wedge that block under there, just so you don't have to work so hard on that right side to lift your hip up. Deep breaths. We'll do that one last spot towards the lateral hip, almost kind of rolling onto your side. That left leg can turn, spiral inward for more intensity. Otherwise, just let it lay where it lays. Notice if you're holding any tension up in shoulders or neck. I just caught myself kind of straining there. The side's quite a bit more intense for me. And then we're going to roll off the ball. Find level, neutral on your mat. Do what you like with your legs. We are going to revisit something we worked on last week. I'm going to spend as long on it, but just as a review. Bring your feet about hip width. Knees bent. Let your right leg open to the side. Let your left leg follow. Turn in as much as your pelvis wants to, including both leg bones turning to that right. So it's like the knees are dropping as far right as they want to go. And then when you inhale, bring both legs back together. We're going to keep going on this side. Right leg out, all the way by itself. Left leg and left pelvis turn. The inhale brings us back. Rolling back to that level sacrum. Right side on its own, or right leg on its own rather. Left leg comes in. Inhale, two legs together. Back to the center. Let's do two more like that. Final one. And then let your left knee drop open to the left until it maxes out. Right leg follows in. Inhale back into center. And do four more on your own. Okay, next up, we're gonna need that lasso strap. So you need it to have a fixed loop. Hopefully you have a strap that you can fashion in that way. And we're gonna just put it around the leg bones, just above the knees, more or less. And then we have to have just enough slack that we can either get our yoga block in between our thighs or a squishy ball. Not the little one, but like a Pilates ball, if you have one of these guys. So I'm going to show you this way. That strap needs to be snug enough that when you try to pull your legs apart, the block doesn't fall out. But it doesn't need to be overly snug. First thing we're going to do is just find our feet to the mat and squeeze in on your block. Isometric adduction. Notice the position of lumbar spine and start to slowly tuck and untuck your pelvis. When we worked on our pelvic clock, remember this was the 12 and the 6 o'clock position, and we're just alternating between tucking and untucking, but we're still squeezing the block. Pause on the tuck, untuck. Keep squeezing your block and bring your legs up so that they're vertical. Knees over hips, shins parallel. And now pull your legs apart isometrically and squeeze against the strap as if you were trying to stretch it. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2. Relax off of that abduction. Set your feet and let your legs move side to side. Just a little bit of a twist in the pelvis. One knee slightly moving forward, the other, but the feet are grounded. Pause on the rock, squeeze your block. 12 and 6 o'clock, tuck, untuck in the hips. Pause on the rocking. Bring your legs back up to that reverse tabletop position and try to pull your legs outward into the strap. One more set, feet planted. Squeeze your block. Tuck and untuck. Rocking from the bottom to the top of your sacrum bone. Neutralize. Raise your legs, knees over hips, and try to pull apart. And then we're going to take the feet down and just let the legs shimmy side to side slightly. Let the pelvis twist a little. Thighs won't get a whole lot of rotation since we've got them bound up here. And now you can take the block out from between your legs. Loosen the strap just a little bit, not much, just like maybe 1 inch. I'm going to create that little splits position. Right leg drawing towards your body, left leg is trying to kick away into the strap. So just a slight, almost like a running freeze frame position, but it can be pretty narrow. Notice how the back is Is your pelvis trying to tuck under? Is it trying to tip forward? Or are you able to control a pretty natural and neutral position? Now switch and pull the other way. Left leg draws in, right leg tries to kick out. Two more breaths. All right, my friends, you can unlasso your legs for now. Set your feet wide this time with your knees bent. And then be really free with this windshield wiper motion. Thighs and pelvis turning as much as they want to, inward and outward. Legs could go together, or they could be kind of doing a mirror of each other. And then this next one is new, and I don't even know what to call it. Maybe you all can help me out with that. We're going to start with the legs in that reverse tabletop position, knees stacked over your pelvis. And then find a little outward rotation like we do in butterfly pose with the knees tracking on a diagonal. Hook your right foot behind your left ankle. And then you're going to imagine you're trying to pull your legs apart. So it's kind of like what we did with that strap, only we're using our feet to hook and pull. So you might be feeling something on those outer hip muscles. And then you're going to keep that foot hook and make some really tiny in and out butterfly motions with the legs without losing that connection at the ankles. Knees squeezing slightly inward and then knees pulling a few degrees out. So this is a pretty small movement. Set your feet back down on the ground. Take those wipers again. Hip spiral, pelvic rocking. And then let's reset. Reverse tabletop legs. Find that little bit of a turnout like butterfly. Hook your left foot behind your right ankle. And then imagine you're trying to squeeze them apart, pull them apart. Once you feel that energy, you will try to create those little teeny open close motions with the knees. And then last round of wipers. Oh. Rolling in, rolling out. Keep our feet wide on this one. Let your knees both drop towards the right side so that you're on the inside edge of your left foot. Option 1, just stay exactly as you are. Option 2, you're going to take your block to the inside of your left leg for a little less internal rotation. Or you're going to take your block and put it underneath the inside edge of your left foot for even more internal rotation of that left hip. Now, if you're getting a cramp anywhere along this journey, it's not necessarily like a red flag. It just means that your nervous system is getting some new input that it maybe hasn't had in a while. And so this is just a really great sign that you could do more of this stuff to train your nervous system. Let's just chill for a moment. Another add-on here on this left side is to reach your left arm over your head and try to grow just a little bit longer through the left rib cage and through that anterior left hip, to the front side of the hip. Final layer, optional, left glute contraction. Breathing for 5. Relax the glutes if they're squeezing. On your inhale, bring your legs back through that middle space, and then travel both knees over to the left. Roll onto the inside edge of your right foot. Find your preferred amount of hip internal rotation. Block under the foot is more, block on the inside of the knee is less. And pause. You can add on the right arm stretch overhead, trying to create a little extra length and space along that right side, and or a little bit of a squeeze of the right bones. Release, relax, retreat out of this position. And then we'll use either a yoga block or a Pilates squish ball or some other soft object to get into our restorative bridge pose. So just a simple lift of the hips. Slide that support system underneath you. And then today we're going to play around with a little bit of hip positioning. So as you get that block situated underneath you, draw your right leg up, but you don't have to pull it super close to your body. Just bring it up until it kind of stops on its own will. But if you wanted to hold it there, you know, with your hand, that would be fine. And then your left leg, we're going to keep the foot anchored and just really slowly rock the leg out and in. This left leg out and in. The right leg is just going to stay put, and the left leg is doing a simple butterfly motion. And if it feels okay to turn onto the outside edge of your foot, that would be okay too. Keep your right leg in like it is. Option to stretch left leg fully out straight or a little straighter. Arms can cactus if you're not holding your leg, or you can just take your arms out to the sides. Rebend your left leg if you stretched it out. Plant your foot. Stretch your right leg up as straight as it'll go. Just till you feel those hamstrings resisting you a bit. And then you're going to start to roll your right leg bone back and forth between the internal rotation and the external rotation. Pivoting your heel and toe in opposition, out and in. And see if you can keep your heel stacked directly over your hip joint rather than letting it drift inward or outward. Thinking of that rotisserie rotation. And then let's plant the feet and just take a quick working bridge, hovering just an inch or so off that yoga block to invite the glutes back in. A little bit of a squeeze from behind. And set your pelvis back down on the block. Right leg's going to stay put for a moment, and then you're just going to snuggle your left leg towards your torso until it stops. Right leg will take those simple open-close movements, allowing the foot and ankle to turn or not to turn. Pause, right leg, and then if you wanted to stretch it out, you can. If your lower back ever feels congested in this position, think of that posterior tuck. So if you're thinking about the landmarks, the 12 and the 6 o'clock, tailbone being the 6 o'clock, you're trying to curl that up and lower the 12 o'clock mark towards the block or towards the mat. That can sometimes decompress a little bit in the low back. Always play around with it if it doesn't feel quite how you want it. There are many right ways. Let's rebend the right leg, plant your foot, stretch your left leg long. Test the edge of your hamstrings. And then those little hip spirals, axial rotation. Not full circumduction, just a simple turn in and out. Reset your feet, rise your hips, set your block off to the side. And then you might want a little cannonball shape here or some more of the wipers. Basically, you're just gonna let your body tell you what it needs. And then I thought it might be nice to explore a legs up position. And lately I have been using my lasso pretty tightly around my legs, just to kind of hold them in place. And then I've used my block, or if you have a wall nearby or even a couch, and you can just get your legs up next to the wall and invert yourself, or put your lower legs up on a couch, ottoman, something like that. Any way that you can get your legs up, let's try that. Even if it's just a little bit of a shim with a pillow or a blanket, if you're sick of that block underneath you. I'm gonna try my bolster. Oh yeah, that's nice. And for those of you that are doing the legs up the wall, they don't even have to be together like this. You could even do a straddle against the wall. And dropping into our breathing practice again. Even if it's just to observe and simplify. If you're enjoying the inversion, please stay. If you would rather take Shavasana in a more traditional shape, set that up now. Get cozy, comfy. Connect your awareness to the whole back side of your body. Feel a softness there. The exhale, the letting go. Lightening our load tonight. And then be aware of any areas of expansion with that soft breath. Belly, ribs, the gentle swell around the heart. Energetically receiving what you need right now without grasping or chasing. And just kind of feel it land upon your resting body. Like a warm embrace from yourself. Let go. We'll be going on a resting journey through your body. There's no work for you here. Just call your attention to the body part when I call its name and let it be. Feel your feet, your toes, the tops of your feet, ankles, legs below the knees, knees, thighs, hip joint, feel the balance in your pelvis. Abdomen, low back, chest, middle back, collarbones, shoulder blades and upper back. Sense your hands resting. Effortless fingers. Wrists. Feel the weight of your arms below your elbows. Elbows. Upper arm. Sense your shoulders free from burdens. Sense the curvature of your neck and the hollow of your throat. And sense your breath here. Just a soft whisper, barely noticeable. Feel into the space at the center of your forehead. Now I invite you to create a sankalpa, a statement of truth, or some sort of positive affirmation for tonight. An I am statement. Turn it around in your head a few times. Hear it in your own voice. And see it in your mind's eye. Bring awareness back to your breath. Keep it simple, but a little more intentional. A little more on the inhale. A longer journey on your exhale. Breathe in and breathe out. You can start to recirculate movement in any way that feels right for you today, keeping it soft and gentle and kind. Let your body guide you to the next stop, whatever that is. It's great to see you all here in the live class, but I also sure appreciate when you come back to these and enjoy them in your own time. As always, it's my pleasure to create these classes for you, facilitate them, and of course, take your feedback. Thanks for being here. Namaste.